Welcome everybody to the Purple and Gold Podcast. I am your host, Justin McBath, 322 Kappa Iota, with my guests, Brian and Brian. So we'll follow protocol and let y'all introduce yourself in order. Brian Sledge, we'll go with you first.
Okay, my name is Brian Sledge. I'm 193 KI, Kappa Iota. I'm the VRIM chair for Kappa Iota chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
Okay. Brother Sledge, or Brother Locke.
All right. And my name is Brian Locke, 620 KI, and I am the chairman of the National Programs and Projects Committee.
Okay, y'all fancy, man. Y'all got roles and stuff. I'm just a regular old dude out here, man. Now, today's episode, we're going to be talking about voter registration, which is obviously one of our core initiatives in Omega Psi Phi Fraternity. So, really, we'll just go ahead and jump right into the questions. And I'll start with Bro Sledge and just ask, how does voting impact the direction of public policies and social issues?
Well, public policies. Mm-hmm. Well, you got to look at your health care, education. What else? What I would say.
What about on a daily basis? Like how does voting impact us on a daily?
Oh, community. As far as what we do in our community, how we live, what we want to go to, what schools we want to go to. Basically, also think about what we eat, what we eat. A lot of people don't think about that, but hey, it takes economics to eat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Also where we sleep, where we live. So that are some of the basic daily things that we have to deal with in our communities.
Okay, that's a good point. What about you, Bro Locke?
You have to pay attention to your local leaders.
That's true.
Because we're looking at your district attorneys. Mm-hmm. Everybody looks at the federal, like, hey, they're going to come in and they're going to change this. And it's like, well, they can't, because your local DA is the one who is investigating. They're the one who's trying cases. Mm-hmm. And so, you need to be aware of who your DA is. They're in certain counties, judges.
Like them old timey judges. We mess around being here like to Kill a Mockingbird or something.
Yeah, no, we don't want that.
No. So why is it crucial for citizens, everyday citizens, to vote in every election? The local, the state, the federal. Why is it important to do that?
So I would say one thing I look at a lot is environmental protections.
Okay.
So clean air, for instance. You need to be aware, like, is this candidate, is this party, are they for clean air? Mm-hmm. I know everybody hates the term regulations, but there's reasons why we have Clean Air Acts, because people would pump dangerous substances into the air.
Yeah.
And we're breathing it in. So we don't want that to continue to happen. Clean water, you want the candidates who are going to protect and regulate companies for clean water. So we want to make sure that they do that stuff. And those candidates at the local, state, and federal level, they all play a part in that.
Right. Yeah, Chattanooga, right, at one point was the dirtiest city in the country, if I'm not mistaken, in the 70s. So as far as air quality and probably water quality too. So, without those types of regulations, we'd still be out here choking and hacking it up,
Lots of asthmatic cases.
Right.
Yeah.
So Sledge, so what are some historical examples where a single vote or small margins have significantly changed the outcome of an election?
Well, we saw it in 2016, but with he won by popular votes, but I ain't gonna say any names. Right. But hey, I mean, but that's some of the things we have to look at. That's why we all need to go out and vote, because if we don't, we can come in numbers, which we do. We need more of us to go out and vote because it can affect even our electoral votes down the road. So we need that. So we need to at least encourage people to go out, because if we don't, we might not get some of the opportunities down the road as far as the things we want. If we don't get the right candidate, it's going to hurt us. I mean, like I said, we have to make those candidates accountable.
Yep.
And if we don't do that, it will hurt us one way or the other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, because like just watching local elections and everything, and once I started getting into it, you realize like, what is it, 3,000 districts nationally? Is it 3,000 or 30,000? I always get that mixed up. But district-wise, there's not that many, or there's a lot, but they all are decided by like a couple hundred votes usually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, if people really consider that, it's like you got people winning these local elections by a handful of votes. And it's like if people would get out of bed and pay attention, you could really make some big change.
Well, to add to that, the primaries that we had back in August,
Yes.
you had one election, one race where for a judge seat, and the candidate who lost by, it was like 1,000.
There wasn't that many.
Yeah.
It wasn't many.
But the total number of votes of people who went out and cast their votes was only like 4,000 or 5,000, somewhere in there.
Right.
And so it's, you look into Chattanooga, which is a city of about 170,000 people.
170.
Yeah.
And 2,000 people came out to vote.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem because there's not enough people who are
Yeah.
voicing their opinion.
Not enough engagement.
Right.
So yeah, you definitely, that means you start heading down the road of authoritarianism, which is actually my next question. so I'm gonna go back to Sledge. So how does voting help protect democratic values and prevent authoritarianism or corruption?
That's why we want democracy. Without democracy, we won't have a voice. So in order for us to have that democracy, we got to have that voice. And you got to look at our history. Look at the people that fought for us to vote.
Right.
It ain't been too long that we were not able to vote.
Right.
So we got to understand as people, brown people, that hey, we need to go out and vote so we can voice our opinions. So we don't want nobody controlling us back like they did 200 years ago.
Right.
Not even 200 years ago. Think about it. Really about 50, 60 years ago.
50, 60 years ago.
So that's where we are.
Yeah. I always tell people, we're nothing but a granddaddy away from not being able to vote and have control of your own destiny, if you really think about it. So, and even participation in government as a whole and even in money markets is a big deal too. But anyway, that's another discussion. So, Brolock, why is it important for the young people, especially first-time voters, to participate in the electoral process?
So I'll take an example recently. You have to be able to vote. You need to be able to go out to vote for the people who are going to best represent your interests. No candidate is going to fulfill everything that you want. But if we go back to the Build Back Better plan that our current president tried to put forth, one of the provisions that they wanted to put in there was to allow for childcare, for free childcare for people who made under a certain amount of money.
Right.
So if you are a young person, you're coming up, you have children, that's something that could benefit you.
Right.
And because we have people in Congress who aren't necessarily representative of the people that they're representing, they said no.
Right.
And so, you sit back and say, well, why didn't you do that? Well, did you vote?
Right.
No. And who knows when that's going to come back up for, a bill's going to be put back in front of Congress for that. So you got to be able to pay attention to all that as a young person, because all of that stuff can eventually affect you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and to piggyback on that too, you got to be educated, and we are educated in our end of our elementary or middle school years, but it needs to be reminded up until we're able to vote. I mean, it's our civic duty to vote. I mean, it's eventually for a young person, it should better their lives down the road. So if you don't get involved at an early age, how are you going to improve your community or help others down the road? So
that's right. Gotcha. So as far as voter mobilization, which is definitely something we try to do, of course, in the fraternity, but what are some good strategies that you guys have found that are most effective in doing that?
I would say the biggest example at a state level is probably Stacey Abrams in Georgia. Just they went out and canvassed all of these different communities, and they talked to people face to face. And I think that is what we need a lot more of, is talking to people face to face about the issue. Not to say, hey, you're right or wrong, but it's to say, hey, this is what this bill means. This is what this candidate is saying, so that those people can understand. But just seeing that campaign that she ran, that's probably the biggest example that I've seen recently.
Gotcha.
Of somebody getting people out and mobilized.
So really humanizing the candidate.
The candidate and their policy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You got any good examples, Rosalie?
Well, we're trying to work on that. And, we register people to vote, but do we guarantee them to the polls, to the precincts? And some of the ideas I would like to put in for us in other groups and other organizations, we all need to come together as far as NAACP, Urban League. Here we had the Hamilton County Voters Coalition. We all need to figure out how, and the League of Women Voters, we need to figure out how we can get these people to the polls. I mean, transportation, some type of transportation through churches, possibility, through car, what is it? What you call it? What's the term I want to use when people get in their cars and
those caravans.
Yeah, I was gonna say hitchhiking.
Yeah, caravans.
Hey, bro, I need a ride.
Yeah, so that's the term. So we got to find ideas. So we don't want to get people in trouble, but we need to find ways to not only get them to register to vote, but take them to the polls. Early voting. That's a good idea. That's what I would take them to the polls. Not the day of the polling, but maybe early voting. We have these, get out to vote rallies. That would be ideal to bring people to the polls. We can have a little fun, have food trucks. People can go eat, then they can go vote, or vice versa. So we try it. We do it all the time, but we need to make sure they go to the polls.
Right. Okay. I like the idea of food trucking.
Oh, yeah.
I would definitely. I mean, I'm an early voter myself because you get a window, I guess, to when you can make it, when you can't, as opposed to just everybody showing up on Tuesday. Yeah, that can be a struggle.
Yeah, I'm an early voter too.
Yeah,
let me get out here and do this before. I don't want to stand in line.
Right.
I'll just get this out early.
Knock it out. So you mentioned earlier, just from a grassroots level, so grassroots campaigning, so how does that work? Like, what does grassroots campaigning mean?
Well, it's really, and from what I've seen is, if we go back to, say, I think this is the best example, the civil rights movement. If you go back to the 40s, 50s, and 60s, specifically in our communities,
right?
It started in the church, and it's where
right.
The church would have candidates come and speak, not on Sunday,
Mhm.
but these candidates will come speak at the church and provide their platform, what they're wanting to do. But it also provided people a place to go to ask questions. They can talk to these people,
Right.
ask them questions. Hey, what do you think about this? I'm looking at this. There's a back and forth. There's a dialogue, and I think that was really helpful. And then once you get other people involved, to where I'm candidate A. I'm coming to this place. I have a team around me, which starts to you picking up a little steam. Let's see if we can't move you over to East Chattanooga from West Chattanooga. And you just take that message throughout your community. Then you can go out into your city. So it's just dependent upon. Now, once you get to the more bigger stuff like your state elections, that requires a lot more coordination, but it all starts from some local level.
Yeah. The micro level. Yeah, I'm with you. So another way, I guess, is social media. So do y'all use social media at all for voter engagement?
We should. It's been out there. It's been promoted to use social media, especially the younger people.
Yeah.
They do the TikTok. Actually,
They said the TikTok.
yeah. I'm a little bit older, but they are doing more of it. That's how our candidates are trying to get to the younger voters now. So, because they don't watch the news.
Right.
No,
that's true.
They don't watch the news.
Yeah.
So
live TV is not a thing for
right. So, this is the way to get the younger people, younger voters. If we don't do that, it'd probably be hard to catch the younger generation. But it is being promoted very much within organizations like our D9. So you'll see more and more of it. Even locally, hey, we got the Ada Beta brothers. They are actually out there.
All right.
Promoting it a little bit.
All right. Eta Beta.
Yeah.
Okay. So since you guys are both heavily involved in voter registration, what are the best practices for organizing registration drives and ensuring people are aware of deadlines and all the requirements tied to voter registration?
Well, I would prefer to start with the younger generation. Get them while they're in high school.
Okay.
Start that drive while they're in high school, because if you think about it, people between 25 and 40, if they hadn't started voting before those ages, they won't vote.
Gotcha.
So you got that the age difference between what, if the early voters between maybe like 18, 25, then the rest of us are 50 and older.
Oh, really?
So that's the thing we have to think about. So like we need to, we definitely go get the 18-year-olds or the ones that are close to 18-year-olds and try to get them registered. But you got the younger kids. They need to see them registering to vote. So when there's their time, they'll be ready to vote too, so.
Yeah.
And we've participated in some drives where some local schools went to like the Brainerd Center.
We did.
Those kids come in. We're like, hey, getting registered to vote, this is great. You got any questions? And we just kind of talked to them about what the process is. I talked to a kid and he was just, you think everybody knows this, but even grown-ups don't realize how a bill becomes a law.
Right.
but
Look, I had Schoolhouse Rock, man. They taught me
just a bill. Exactly.
Yeah, they need to play that a lot more often.
They do. They really do.
But I'm explaining to them like, well, what happens is your candidate, who you vote for, that person should represent you. But once you get to Congress, there's a whole bunch of other people. So your want is for your candidate and and the majority of the other candidates to support what you want, so that bill can move from the House to the Senate to the president or vice or Senate, House, president, however, wherever it gets introduced.
Right.
And just providing that information, being available and open to folks who are trying to get registered to vote. But like you said, getting them young, that's imperative.
Yeah. Explaining the importance of civic duty.
Exactly.
Yes.
And community and what that means and what representatives mean and all that stuff. Because we definitely didn't have it. Like we had a little bit in school. We had a government class my senior year, but I was a football player and I kind of paid attention, but I kind of didn't. But now looking back at it, it's like, I think classes like finance and government should definitely be taught at least for your whole senior year. You should have two classes. That kind of 101 and 102 on those things, because it's definitely important. You lose sight of it real quick.
They do take a test. They pass. They have to pass it. It's about 20, 25 questions.
Who gives a test for that?
The seniors have to have an exit test on civic. That's what I was surprised too. I didn't know either. I just found out, but that's what they do have to take a civic test. My son took one before he graduated last year. So
that's all right. I ain't mad at it. Yeah, because I sure didn't have to do that.
No, I didn't either.
I don't know if they paid attention, but
So along those lines, I guess, why is voter education crucial to making informed decisions at the ballot box?
Well, again, talking to one of those kids, I'm like, hey man, so this is why the reason you need to pay attention to who your DA is because is this candidate going to lock you up for a misdemeanor?
Yeah.
Is this candidate going to be like, okay, well, this is a misdemeanor, nonviolent. Hey man, don't do that again. We got you on record.
Yep.
But we're trying to provide you an avenue to not do this again. And I said, you need to pay attention to that because that impacts not just you, but it impacts your community.
Right.
And so, talking with that senior, he was like, he didn't know.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know.
Right. No, that's true.
I know I'm harping on like the judges and your DAs, but you take your judges.
Hey,
I'm like,
Brian been through some things, y'all.
Hey man, your judge, he needs to be fair.
Fair.
Right.
Exactly.
And the sentences, the penalties should be even across the board.
Right.
They should match what's going on. You shouldn't have fluctuations in demographics.
Right.
So that's where explaining to the kids, hey, this is important. This is why you have to pay attention to this.
Right.
And that's true. I mean, you hit it right on the head. That's the best way to break it down to a young kid. Hey, yeah. You use the judicial law, but you also got to think about the other person who makes the laws, the city councilman, like you said, the judge, and still, we got to break it down so they can understand why, like I said earlier, where you eat, what you eat, economics, how you live, where you live, what school you go to. That's all important. If you don't know that's choices you can have down the road as far as what you want to do, where you want to go to school. Because look, I mean, a lot of these kids, like, they only see them. They don't get exposed until somebody just hey, come and get them, like take them to another community. So, a lot of kids don't have that opportunity. And that's what, I talked to some kids at Chat Prep probably about a week ago. They just don't know. I say, hey, you may not be into politics, but politics is into you. So,
that's right.
So that's what you got to look at. So,
yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of the information just in being an adult is inherited and not taught. very well. And, you know, if the parents don't know, the kids probably won't know.
Right.
So because they spend more time at home, I guess, than they do in school at the end of the day. So along those lines too. So what are the challenges of ensuring people are well informed and about policies and I guess ballot restrictions and all those types of things? I know there's rules around like what you can do and ballot around polling areas and educating people and all that type of stuff. So what are some things that y'all know of that are restrictions or that keep people from being well informed?
I mean, you can Google a lot of this stuff. I mean, you can go to vote41.org. You can tell what laws are going to be on that ballot.
Okay.
You know, that's some of the key things you can do. And then, you know, start asking people, which is best for me? You know, if you don't understand it, because they do write it that most people don't understand.
It's true.
You know,
It's
so
legalese.
yeah. So what you have to do is go around and ask people in your community, what's best for our community? You know, so it's other ways, like I said, you know, vote41.org is one. You can go to election.com too. You can find out what's going to be on your ballot because everybody has different ballots depending on where you live and stuff. So you might have different, you know, rules or laws that they're trying to pass in their area. So that's one of the key places I would look for, you know. And a lot of times, like, and also too, I think, but this being a presidential election year, you might not see those rules on some of those ballots, but still, you just have to look and just go to vote411.org.
Okay.
And see what's best.
Okay. So in terms of knowing what's on the ballot, how do we fight misinformation and disinformation? You know, we deal with it a lot. We have candidates that like to push things. We see that all the time in our either incumbent elected officials or people who are running for office for the first time. How do we make sure that we get the right information to make the best decisions?
So what I would say is if you're looking for federal information, AP News and Reuters, all those two sites, the reporters do is present you the news. They present you, here's what this person said, here's what this bill is, and they don't add in personal opinions.
Right.
And that's important because you don't want to say, you don't need the person putting their own personal spin on it if you don't understand what they're talking about.
No opinions needed.
So that you can get information from there. And
what were the websites again?
AP News and Reuters.
Okay.
Reuters.
Both of those, you can get a lot of good information from those. I know people go to their CNNs, their Foxes, but the people that you're watching, most of the time, the people are talking to they're listening to the talking heads. They're not listening to the people who are actually presenting you the news and presenting you, this is what this policy is.
Right.
Most people aren't tuned into that because, let's just be honest, it's boring. You know, and it's supposed to be, you know, if you watch C-SPAN, and I would recommend anybody go watch that. That is the process.
Yeah, right. That's what
C-SPAN, what you see on that is the process.
That's all it is.
And so you could add C-SPAN to that list. You can get a lot of information from C-SPAN.
Right.
But you know, I'd say those are three sources where you can get a lot of good information, and start there, so that when you hear something else, you'll be able to siphon the noise.
Yeah. People definitely have a way of making good news sound bad, for sure, or bad news sound good. So depending on what network you watch, it's wild. Go ahead.
Well, I'd even like to add, there was back in 2008, President Obama was trying to get an infrastructure bill passed.
Right.
And I'm looking at it like, yes.
Sounds like
that's good. These bridges, like the one we had in Chattanooga that fell. You know, these old water pipes that are like 100 years old that keep cracking. the government wants to provide federal money to all these states
Yep.
to fix these problems. I'm like, yes. And that didn't happen until like a year and a half,
Right.
2 years ago.
Yep.
Yep.
We have to pay attention to that
Yeah.
stuff. You know, that affects us because this freeway project, I-2475 split, probably could have been started
Earlier.
earlier.
Oh yeah.
If
Yeah.
not for, well, he's going to screw it up somehow. It's like, no, that's not how it works. They give money to the states.
Right. Right.
So-
But you have to, if you want to get your way, you got to present it
Yeah,
as though.
you have to present it in a way that's scary or bad or something.
That's right.
And you have to be able to decipher that stuff,
Mhm.
see through that.
Okay. So this rolls right into the next and last question. So how can voters be encouraged to research down ballot candidates and initiatives, kind of like infrastructure bill, that often receive less attention but have a significant impact on local communities? And I'll ask y'all both that. I'll let you go first.
So, to learn about a candidate,
Mm-hmm.
you can also go to vote411.org.
Okay.
That's one of the places for its local candidates anyway. So
Mhm.
that would be a good place to start. Sometimes, it doesn't give what information we want to know about the candidate, but that's a start. But you can also Google. I
Mhm.
mean, you can Google pretty much
Yeah.
that person to see what kind of stuff they are actually their policies are for,
Mm-hmm.
or if they're in agreement with what your policies may be. But that's the other option too, to see what that person had voted for in the past.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I would look into.
So I know from just going out and voting, one thing that I'll be honest about it, I made this mistake just because I tell myself I don't have enough time, but really you get in there and you start voting and you realize you don't know any of the people on the down ballot. It's like so then you're almost forced to pick a party one way or the other,
Right.
just based off of what you think you know about, either red or blue or independent. So how can we? Do y'all know any tricks to remind ourselves of down ballot
You
candidates?
So during the once early voting starts, you can go to the Hamilton County Commission site. Well, if you're in Chattanooga, you
Yeah.
can go to the Hamilton County Commission site, and they will show you. They'll have sample ballots
Mm-hmm.
that you can read. So they'll have this past August, they had looked at the sample ballot. It was like, oh, here's a judge, and it says, do you want him to stay or do you want him to go?
Right.
And I was like, let me Google this man because
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But you can see every county. I would hope, I'm not going to say they do, but I would hope they have a ballot that you can look at before you go, and that can help you with those down ballot candidates
Okay.
and initiatives, so that you can be informed. Because again, like you can go to the sites, but some of that stuff is not very loud.
Right.
So
You're exactly right. I mean, and sometimes, you talk about, it might just be one person. They don't have nobody that's really,
Yeah.
really they're contested by. So what do?
Right.
It's like, well, you want to vote yourself in, but that's what I be thinking sometimes. But I said, nah, I'm not going to do that.
You don't want no job.
Right. So, but what do you do? So, but yeah, I would Google if we don't find information, just see what they've done in the past. So
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. I never thought about reviewing the sample ballot, but yeah, try to do that ahead of time definitely would make it less of a surprise walking in there and trying to vote for people.
and see that's like you said earlier, like a lot of people don't know that. It's not something that's just publicized.
No.
And unless fewer people are watching the news, and so unless you're watching the news every day, you're probably not going to hear about that.
Right.
And so it's just, now that this information is out here, hopefully,
Yeah.
more people go out and try to, look at that sample ballot so they can say, oh, okay, let me see what these initiatives are. Let me see these candidates and go from there.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to check out a sample ballot. Shoot. Try to get educated ahead of time. Well, that's the end of my questions, y'all. Y'all have any closing comments? Y'all want to, any dimes y'all want to drop on the good people?
Hey, we go out and vote. That's what we need. We need representation. No,
Right.
Yeah. If we don't go out and vote, we can't voice our opinion. So, but please vote.
Yeah. A lot of truth to that.
And I would just say it is important that we go and vote. We have been, there have been measures put in place to keep us from doing it. And, we need to be able to go out there and, like you said, voice our opinion. There's a reason why in 2016, specific candidate targeted Black men to, at the very least, make us disinterested in voting. And we are a target to by lots of different candidates,
Right.
not to vote, or at the very least, why it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
It does matter.
Yep.
It does.
Because if it didn't matter, those people wouldn't be targeting
They wouldn't
you.
be targeting you. That's right.
And if you want to go find this information, you can go Google it.
Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely attempts to disenfranchise groups of voters to create a belief that your vote doesn't matter.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
I got you. Man, well, we appreciate both of y'all coming on to the Purple and Gold Table Talk and taking your time and educating the folks out here and myself. So I hope everybody has paid attention to the different websites we've learned about today and review your sample ballot. Be sure to review your sample ballot so you know who's on the down ballot, because you never know. You might end up in front of that person someday if you get in trouble and get pulled over. So you got to make sure you're covered. Well, with that, we'll close it down. Thank you for listening to the Purple and Gold Table Talk.